All right, welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We're going to do some compositions. I just want to get back to some basics again. We've been going with some really fun surface combinations, surface media combinations, using a lot of the foils and reflective types of materials. But I just want to go back to the basics, which I do every, I don't know, it seems like it's longer than that, but it's probably been a couple weeks since I just did some stamp sketches using the new imagery. And I thought it was time to do that. We'll do it in some different formats here. We'll go half page, kind of slimline, half page, just 8.5 by 5.5. So I have some different papers here. I don't know what we'll get to here, but I've had some ideas on, from the time that I designed a lot of these stamps to, just kind of playing around with some here. And I just haven't gotten around to trying it out just due to other, whatever experiments that have been going on. We also have some quarter page pieces here. I'm seeing what I have. I cut out a bunch of these things with the idea of just kind of experimenting. But I think I'm largely just going to go with the types of papers here, just some basic cardstocks that I can just stamp in your basic dye-based ink. I might get into, some of the wood grain or vintage as well, but let's see what we can get around to. Sorry about the scattered type of format here. Not that all my videos aren't that way, but I'm going to be, I don't know, I have so many different designs here and stamps on my desk, and it's just tip of the iceberg in terms of what we can use here. So I'm going to try some different combinations here that I haven't done yet. Or I'll do some tweaks on, a couple things that I've already done. Okay, so this one, this elongated one, I'm going to put a cabin right here. And I really liked the structure of this one scene that I did on blue paper, a double page spread. I don't know if I have room for it. I'm going to see, but this one right here, I really liked how this kind of cove went around like that. But I'm going to put a lighthouse out here. I don't know. Like I said, maybe this is too narrow for it. I'm going to see if I can make it work here, though. All right, so let's see. This one's a piece of glossy. It doesn't have to be glossy. I just grabbed a bunch of papers that I had on my desk here. This one's a 4 1/4 by 10. Okay, so I don't like to go 11 out here, just full page, because I won't have any paper to mat this on. So I always have like 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. So I cut an inch off the length there. Hello, Linda. How are you? All right, so let's see how this goes here. Okay, I've pre-mounted some of my stamps here onto the acrylic blocks. I need to go pretty low here because my small lighthouse, I don't know where it went, I'll grab it. It's better if the lighthouse is a little bit higher from its foundation so that it represents something farther away, at least in terms of Western perspective. All right, so we've placed that there. I'll just leave this one on here. Maybe we'll do it. I'll do the next scene with this one as well, or composition. And let's see. All right. Almost forgot what I used on that last one. All right. Let's go with some rocks and let's create this foundation out that way. Maybe I should go with the smaller ones first out here. Like something like that. Okay, so I did this video one time called, I don't know, it was something like Compositions and the 5 F's of stamping, scenic stamping or something like that. So one of the things was foundation. It's what is your scene going to be about? Is it about a lighthouse? Is it about a waterfall, meadow, lake, whatever? This is just, it's not the way that everyone has to work, but usually it's easier to do a composition just, if you have a larger element or just a really super dominant focal point piece, structure, okay? And you would usually stamp that. And then it's just easier to kind of build smaller images around it. But like I said, I mean, you don't have to work that way, but it's kind of it's a good way to work if you've haven't done scenic stamping before. Okay, so this is one structure right here. So that's kind of a foundation. I wouldn't call this a filler stamp, this lighthouse right here, because it's a fairly significant visual within the scene. So I'd call the cabin and the lighthouse. Those are the foundational pieces. The foundational piece doesn't have to be one stamp, okay? So let's go with this one here. I think I'm just going to use more of this top portion of it right here. I have the rocks go down lower like this, okay, but this one's going to represent something a little bit farther off in the distance, so I want a little bit of a smaller part of it, okay? All right. Let's see, I inked up pretty decent amount of it. Let me wipe off some of that. I'll transition it here, okay? Meaning I'm going to take off some ink down below, and then I'll remove a little bit of ink the more I go up the rock area just to the base of the lighthouse, okay? We'll go something like, yeah, let's put it out on a little bit of a point. Okay. All right, so that we need to connect these up now, and I'm going to make it like a little covey bay type of thing here. Points are always where the best, typically the best surfing waves are. Okay, let me see here. Let's go ahead and use the boulders with lichen here. And again, I don't need a lot of it, okay? I'm just going to go with this top portion right here, okay? And then let's transition again. You might be thinking, well, hey, how do you know where to transition it? On all my designs, you can just use portions of it. So if you want this rock right here, you might say, hey, this rock is too big for my usage, but there's nothing to say that you can't use like that amount of the rock or this amount of the rock even, you know what I mean? But I'll use like that amount of it so that you have a really narrow, application of this particular design. So you can always kind of dissect things. So when you look at designs, Stampscapes designs, I really design with that in mind. But you can look at designs just in general, and if you want to get a really good amount of usage out of it, the more universal something is, the potentially more, more applications you can have for it. So partials are a really big part of scenic stamping if you employ them. It's not something that people who haven't done scenic stamping before are kind of used to, because they're used to doing total impressions, stamping out the whole stamp for every stamp they have. They don't, a lot of stamps are linear and they're not tonal. So, if you don't stamp something out, you're missing like part of the outline or something like that. And that doesn't look, you know what I mean? Those ones aren't really made for kind of dissection. You might be able to do it on some, but most really aren't kind of designed that way. So keep that in mind, in terms of these stamps. Take a look at them. You might look at them and say, okay, maybe I can't. That's the type of thing that I might want, but that might not work for me due to scale. But just stamp a smaller portion of it. Treetops, things like that make for really great smaller trees in the distance. Okay, so let's go like this. This is the rock cluster off of the desert stamps. All right. Okay, that one I just used like 1/8 of an inch. Maybe that's too extreme of a, partial usage, but let's go to the larger one right here. Okay. Hello, Patty and Jennifer. How are you? I hope you had a nice week. Every time I say that, I'm thinking, man, another week's gone by. Time flies. I was trying to think of what I did last week, and it was that holographic one. It seems like, man, it feels like it's been so long since I did that one. I think it was that pinkish one. All right, and let's go. So this right here, I'm going to fill in a little bit right here, like that. Just with these tops of it. It's like maybe, I don't know, 1/4 inch at most. Off of those two. I did ink up this one down here just in case, because I figured I might get some of that impression into the the composition right there. But see that right there? So you have this kind of cove going around like that. All right, now we have this area out here, and I don't know, this is kind of one of those stamping assignments that require a little bit of fussy work here. So I'm going to take this right here, the Seaside Cove, but we're just going to use, going back to partials, and I'm just going to use this portion of it right in here, okay? So I need to get that right in here, like this, okay? And it might even be a smaller area of it. All right, so here's my masking work. This is my fussy masking work right here. Kind of the extent of it. Most times, it's like doing something like this. All right, so there we go. I always say a lot of people think that kind of a lot of the stuff that I do is like complicated or whatnot, and I tend to think it's not, because if anyone doesn't feel like doing kind of like TDM and that type of work, besides the design work that I do to design these stamps, I don't like a lot of fussy work when doing things, so I try to keep things as like simple as possible. But a lot of people think it's a lot more complicated. Again, with scenic stamp, it's mostly not, people that aren't scenic stampers, they can't tell where one stamp ends and the other one begins, so it immediately kind of registers as something more difficult. But in reality, everything is so blended together and you're just overlapping everything, so the actual kind of process of it is easier. It's just that, people tend to not know, okay, where do you stamp this one stamp, you know what I mean? Because of depth in a scene, where if you're doing kind of more of a two-dimensional type of project, and rubber stamping in general, I'm not talking about the genre of scenic stamping, they get confused as far as that goes. Okay, so we're going back to those Fs though. So this is be an example of filler stamps right here. We stamped our two main images, And then we're connecting things. Okay, so I connected it with like a lot of rocks, and now I'm filling in this area of the water. If I don't have this water stamp, I can just kind of take a piece of paper and put it up here along that horizon line, and then you bring in your tones this way. Or you can take a ruler and do a line across there and blue ink and then fill in this way, and that's your ocean or something like that if it's going to be blue. But another thing is the way that I'm working here, you don't have to know what a scene is going to look like from start to finish. A composition is going to look like from start to finish, and that gets really complicated for some people too. In other projects, they might see a finished piece and know exactly where a card is going to go, and in this, I'm just kind of taking it one step at a time, just kind of filling in. Okay, I have this area in here, so I'm going to fill in that. I have this lower area down here. Now, you're just going to the next step. I have this area up here, that whole sky area, and we can fill in with clouds, or we can put in some additional background imagery in there, which I think I'll do. Let's go back to our main stamp, okay? So we're talking about partials again. And see some of these trees right here, they represent the trees at a certain distance, but I'm going to be using it up on that horizon back up in here, or maybe even behind this lighthouse. Okay, so, this is like looking across the waters, to, could be another island or something like that. So let's just use the tops of these trees right here, okay? That'll be the easiest masking you'll ever do because it's just a straight line right here. Okay, so see these trees right here? That should serve us pretty well like that. All right. And we'll just take this and I'll mask off right here. I might need to mask off some of this too, like that. Okay. And I'll just go for a smaller portion of this, okay? Okay, here's what I was going through in my mind. Should I stamp this once here and then stamp it here so that it's a lighter version of it so that it looks farther back in the distance? I think I'm just going to go for black here. And again, this is kind of, okay, so this was my foundation stamp, it's the foundation for this entire kind of compositional structure right here. But I'm using a part of it now for filler stamp, filler imagery, filler, texture. I should have undermasked a little bit. I might get a little bit of a gap in between this piece of paper and these trees right here, even though this is just a thin piece of copy paper. Nope, I did it perfect. What were you guys, what were you guys worried about? So again, that's filler stamp right there. It's the other side, and it's looking across the waters like that. This is kind of missing something right here, right? So let's go with more filler imagery. We'll just use the same stamp. And we'll go, okay, this isn't big enough here because I'm going to get stamped here. I'll just go like this. And it'll go like this. So see, I'm using the ripped paper towel because these rocks right here are uneven. They're not a straight line like, it is across the body of water. Okay, let me see. Did I ink up this whole thing? I don't know if I did or not, but let's go right here. Okay. So we have our trees right there. Okay, this is going to be my foundation for my composition here. I'm going to leave it open for, I don't know, other ideas. Like if I'm going to do like a sunset on here or a twilight or something like that, if I put, or I could put a Milky Way up here, clouds, I don't know, whatever it might be. I usually do those in a color from my color scheme. So if it's going to be high noon and blue, powder blue, billowy cloud, sky up here, then I usually stamp my cloud in that color. So all of that's undecided right now. Okay, so a little bit of an extra filler. We have this kind of open area down below like that. And let's go with some additional texturing. Okay. Like this, and see that this is also kind of filler texture. We had filler imagery before, now we're going to some filler texture like this. Now some of these areas are a little bit, I missed that impression right there because, I mean, I was masked over and everything like that. If you get areas that aren't filled in like that, if you see like openings where something doesn't stamp out in your foundation like this, if you're going to color the scene, that's going to fill in all those areas anyway. You know what I mean? So you don't have to worry about kind of like impression. I wouldn't call it an error, but impression gaps, I guess you can call it, or something like that. Just where, you miss. Now, if I miss half the lighthouse, that might be a problem. But, let's say the bottom part didn't stamp out. You can always put like a cloud in front of it. So it's like this misty kind of atmosphere with a lot of, fog and light or something like that, is in there. Unless you have like a misty or something like that. You can just go for that, second impression of it. But anyways, there's our, okay, so foundation. And then filler in here. And then I have the other Fs are like focal point. If I like put a kayaker in here or something of that sort, you can do that. And then there's foreground. Here, let's go for a little bit of foreground. We can call this foreground right here. This is like something that's really close to us, but let's add in a little bit of additional foreground. And our foreground is just going to be this reed stamp here. You can put other things. I could put another tall pine tree over here or something like that if I want to. There's a little bit of room here, but let's just keep this kind of simple. Okay, so like I said, all that's kind of missing is kind of like a, if we wanted to, like a visual focal point. If you put like people or animals into scenes, life, okay, it tends to attract people's attention. So this would be like the perfect little spotlit area. It's on the stamp itself. It's lighter in the middle right here. You can see it. But that area right there would be perfect for like a little, boat or something like that. You'd have to make it kind of small. You won't want it too big because it'd be close to the height of the base of that structure right here. And that structure is not going to be like some 50-story type of thing. And it's, I don't know how tall lighthouses are. Get to 30, 40 feet at max, at most. All right, so there's our little foundation right there as one piece. I hadn't really thought about using the lighthouse with the cabins before, but I was thinking about this cove type of wraparound thing like this. And I thought, that might kind of work, so testing it out. Yeah, giving a little test here with the existing stamps candy. Let's see, Jeannie, Bonnie, Megan, Netta, Kay, how are you? Hey, you caught it. Hello, Helen and Cecil. And Craft by Cat. Hello, Craft by Cat. What time is it for you, Craft by Cat? Okay, so there we go right there. Oh, yeah, was it last week we were talking about the Northern Lights, or was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, when we were talking about that, I hadn't even heard of that event. And then, my gosh, the photos from like, I don't know if it was Friday night. It might have been Saturday night. My gosh. The photos from all over the world were stunning. I didn't know it was like a 20-year event or something like that. But my gosh, people were seeing the Northern Lights where I am, which is shocking. I thought you could barely see them usually. Maybe it is usually at kind of the northern states in the U.S. Okay, let's go for let's use the same stamp right here again. Let's use it in a non kind of water side. I mean, there could be a stream in front of it, but not like lake or seaside type of application. Let's see how this would look right here. I have some other types of things. I had like, you know, some snowy banks and things like that that we can use with it. Let's put it in the snow here. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, these are unplanned compositional structures here, by the way. Sorry for the a lot of the I say that too much, and I say you know too much in my videos. All right. Snowy Brook here. I think that's the name of it. It's called Snowy Brook, but I've also used it in a springtime type of setting. The thing that makes it snow is if you kind of color it kind of more minimally, you know, with like, you add like blue tones, cool tones, purples, violets, or blue in the shadows. If you're doing color work, it can be monochromatic too, of course, but all right, let's just see how this goes right here. I'll go up a little bit. Large stamp, stand up, get plenty of pressure, especially on the interior. This stamp right here is fairly light. There's not a huge amount of surface area on there, you know, because it represents snow, so you can't have it like super dense with tone, or solid areas especially, so it's largely kind of airy like that. All right, so that's part of the kind of the foundation, the F's of scenic stamping there. And I'll put this right here, and then we'll mask a little bit of this. We're going to create this little ridge right in here. Okay, so one of the things that makes this kind of water side is, let me see, which stamp is this? Is there's this little, I barely put any kind of reflection down here. Okay, and it makes it a little bit more universal. I could make a completely mirrored image down here, but then, you know, the design's going to get huge, and then we wouldn't have all these other choices in here. But sometimes I do want to get a little bit of that reflection going down here, inherent in the design. I'm going to remove that just by not, you know, first of all, not inking it up, and then I'll wipe a little bit around it. Like I say, so I'm inking it up like so. And then I'll just make sure that I've removed some of this like this. Okay. And now when you do that too, you don't really have to mask anything off down here. This can just transition just right into this piece right here. Or you can have a little bit of space in between, that's fine. Okay, so this right here, I mean, it's a creek next to a cabin. So the two of these things are kind of serving as the foundation for this piece. So foundational elements in your scenic stamping is your first step. And they're typically, these are pretty large stamps. I mean, I'm using a half-page, you know, card here, so it's like, you know, packing a box up or something like that. You know, it's easier to put in the larger things first, and then you know what I mean? You configure the smaller things around it. You know what I mean? But like I said, I mean, you could work from the smallest element in a scene. I could put like a hiker here and build the entire scene around it if I wanted to. But, you know, just in terms of thinking of what to do in terms of compositional builds, I just find it, you know, something usually where I start off with the larger elements and just work around that. Okay, so that is that. Let me see here. Let's put a few more of these trees on the other side of it. Okay. And we'll make this kind of like a little stream going through. It's not a valley, but kind of this opening right here. Okay, now see where that cabin is right there? I don't necessarily want to mirror this image right over here, but see, I just want to get like from this portion over right in here, okay? So you can see this. This is kind of doing filler imagery. We have all this other area to fill in, unless you have another significant type of thing that you want in here. Like, there's going to be a big waterfall here. You know what I mean? Uh-oh, that might be a kind of an interesting thing to do. I didn't grab any of my waterfall stamps. Okay, so I see this cabin ends right there, so I'm going to put my finger right there, so I just know not to go in too much farther. I can get a little bit of it in there, and that's not a big deal. Because typically I put kind of this little bit of a darker vignette around the edges anyway, so if I'm getting a little bit of the cabin showing, you know, no big deal there. It's going to get darker anyway. You like it just in the black and white, huh, Nana? A lot of people, you know, when we used to do these in, when I used to do workshops, in my Stampscape, in my follow-up class to the first one where they're learning composition and things like that, we did a monochromatic. So it's just, okay, everyone stamp out everything in black and white, including their sky figures. And a lot of people, when they got doing that, I heard a lot of comments like, hey, I really like it just in the black and white, you know? It's like, hey, you know, when you're doing your scenes, if you just like to build compositions, you know, that's a perfect way to do it, just with black and white. Or, you know, it's an option to do things like that. Or you can just go minimally, too. If I was just to do only stamping, okay, and doing things in black and white, I would do things like, for my background imagery in here, like for these two elements right in here, if I wasn't going to add in, you know, potentially other types of things in here that might be darker in the background. But if I knew I was just going to do compositions, what I would do is for these two impressions right here, I would have stamped it once and then stamped it again so that you get, you know, these stamped out in maybe like a 50% gray or something like that. And that would push depth. And those are really fun to do. Those just kind of like, you know, studies in depth by value, you know, light and dark. And that would be really, you know, it's pretty interesting to work that way. I haven't seen too many people. Some people used to submit scenes like for the gallery pre-social media when, you know, we had the Stampscapes gallery and we were doing things like that. Posting things. I'd see a lot of different examples. Okay, so let's mask some of this off. So speaking of those trees, let's add in some additional trees in the background. Okay, so we're going for those filler trees again. Like about like so. Okay, I just need to make sure this isn't inked up right here where it's going to be stamping right here, you know, below the masks. Okay, let's go about like that. Okay, and so I kind of did that rough ridge like that, like it's, you know, I don't know, like a slope or something like that. And I think I'm going to leave this as an opening, possibly for that creek to be going, you know, like where it's coming from out that way. Okay. Okay, so those are some filler trees. And let's see what other stamps I've grabbed here. I've grabbed a ton of them, but let's do this. Now I feel like doing some monochromatics, just some grayscale studies. Okay, this is a mountain right here. If I put it right back in here, it's going to be, you know, really, really big. It's going to be going off the top of the page, in fact. So I tell you what I'm going to do, speaking of like grayscale applications. Now this stamp right here could be kind of a foundation stamp because it's really large and it's very prominent and etc. But it can also be just filler, just like anything else, okay? So we'll blot it once, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of this ink down below so that it transitions from kind of a medium wet to dry right in here, so it's going from wetter to drier. Now remember, I already stamped it off, so it's not going to be stamping in black. And let's see. I'm not even going to mask it off because I've stamped off half the ink, so it's not going to be stamping out dark anyway. I don't think, unless I didn't remove enough. Okay, so you get those background mountains right in there. And now, so we've filled in that big opening. You know, you can have like a full moon rising right back there. It could have been something like that. It could be just open sky with some clouds. This could be daytime still. You know, it's whatever you want. But again, this is just, you know, these are just some different options for us. Okay, so we have this other area in here. I'm going to make it like snowy in here. So I'm going to take another filler stamp. And let's see if I have, okay, I'm just going to use this block right here. It's a little bit big for this one snow texture, but we're going to fill in some additional snow texture. I don't know what I want to put down here yet. I plan on doing something, but we'll see. Now remember, the snow texture doesn't have to be perfect. It can look like really awkward, in fact, because we're going to color it in anyway. But this is kind of giving me a little bit of a head start to kind of shadow and light. I wouldn't want to color this in like completely uniform, whatever, blue, light blue or something like that for snow. I like variation. That's why I have that variation going on right here. There's light and dark within that structure right here. But you can see how this is starting to bring all this together right here. You have this common texture going around in here, about like so. On this stamp right here, on your textures, on the things like this, and then there's the water pattern stamp like this. This is like grassy. This is a water texture right here, and this one's snow right here. They're really good foundations. The snow can be used as sand too, like in a desert or whatever. But when you're stamping these out, I usually use center pressuring right on my finger like this, right in the middle here. Because even if it doesn't stamp out on the sides, that's fine. But so it's nice and light on the sides. Don't put excess amount of pressure around on the edge like that. Okay, let me see if I can do it here. And I'm trying to get like extreme. Sometimes, okay, if there's more ink on my pad, like the edges get too prominent so that when you're overlapping it, the edges kind of show a little bit. So just, you know, light even pressure like that, okay? I mean, you can see the kind of the differences right here. And it just makes for, it's one of those little tiny tweaks. If you do get harder pressures, it just, you know, you create more contrast. You know, and you can just blend it in with, you know, some darker tones. But it's one of those things if you don't have to. Now, okay, no, another thing is too, I'm just doing all these foundations right here, you know, compositional foundations with black. But if I wanted to, if I knew this was going to be like a bluish toned scheme here or something like that, instead of doing it in black, you can stamp out some of this in like a dark blue. So it's within that color scheme already. You know what I mean? Rather than having to introduce all the colors in there. Okay, so let's see. Let's go with some foreground here. Let's do this right here. Okay, that'll really kind of anchor our scene together a little bit. It's an hour past midnight there in Norway. Crap, I can't go out and take a photograph of those northern lights for us, and man, it's too bad we can't like post like files in the chat right here. Crap, my cat. Did you see any of those you know, once in 20-year kind of, you know, northern lights last weekend? Or I think they went on like a couple days, right? I thought something was, there was like a post in my local news down here. It's like it shows up in my Facebook, but it said the question, it posed a question: are we going to see something like the Northern Lights again on Sunday or something like that. This up, you know, coming Sunday here. So I was wondering if it like there was another something happening. Hello, Froggy Fresh. Inspirations for creativity. Glad they're helpful there. You got to get Steve his medication. Uh-oh. Is Steve the Saint Bernard? Hello, Cynthia. Yeah, it's fun, you know, just doing these stamp sketches a lot too. Okay, so see that right there? See this composition right now, it's really weighted heavily over this way, right? Right. If you just looked at this without these trees here. So I'm kind of counterbalancing right here. We have this kind of two heavy weighted things, you know, whatever, what do you call it? Diagonal from each other, caddy, and not caddy corner, but. And then I don't want to put anything right here because we have that stream running through. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as is. It might be interesting to do this like composition like this. It kind of looks, you know, weird but interesting as if you do these same images like this. Like if we were doing it on like a piece of like blue foil, but you stamp the imagery out in white. It's kind of, you know, it's one of those kind of cool wintry types of things. I don't know if it would work like with this image right down here, but sometimes some of the solid types of images look pretty interesting reversed out onto kind of your darker colored, mainly foils, I think. But, you know, you can do it on like cardstock or something like that too, poster board. All right, so see that right there? So see, I didn't put any of that texture in there because I wanted to see what I'd put down here, but see, that kind of balances things out a little bit more. I'm tempted to put another one down here, but I think it looks good kind of just weighted right here in the corner like that. Now, you know, you might think, someone might watching this would be like, okay, well, you knew to put these trees down here. I wouldn't have known that, okay? They don't have to be down there, you know. It's just, if I were to do this scene again, too, like with this foundation right here, or these two right here, I probably wouldn't do that just because, you know, I'd want things a little bit different. You know, I wouldn't do the same thing. I don't know, I might do it again if it was like, you know, a half year from now and I forgot what I did, but if I was to do this again, like, you know, right away, I would do something else down there. So it's, you know, not solutions, but I don't know, whatever options. They're like one of whatever or many, and you can do them or not. It's not like an either or type of thing. It's just like that was one of the things that you could have done. All right, so I'm putting a few more of these little textures in like that. And I have this little kid with a sled, and I was thinking about putting them in a scene, which I think I will. All right, like that. Light, even pressure on your kind of small imagery. Not necessarily this one. This one's fairly solid, but sometimes if it's like a small bird or something like that, where, you know, where I've just stamped a lot of large images and I've pressed down with a lot of force. You know, when you get down to something like this with these little fine things, you don't want to, you know, like completely like, you know, squash it down, although that looks okay. I don't know, I'm trying to do these examples of a squashed image, but I'm not getting it here. Okay, so anyways, there's another piece right here. So in terms of I'm getting ahead of myself here, but in terms of lighting or something like that, I think, you know, everything's going to be a little bit darker around the edges like that. And then we'll have some really light touches of blue right in here. Let me see, is this glossy? Yeah, this is glossy. So I'd do it in like alcohol pens or something like that, or a little bit of dye-based ink. And I'm going to have this little character kind of in the spotlight area. Now, everything's not going to be like completely dark, but it'll be a little bit darker, you know. I'll enhance some of these shadows in here. And maybe, you know, we'll have this area in the background kind of illuminated with some misty light coming through here type of thing. But the thing that I want to show in here is that I want to reinforce this stream in here, so I want that to be fairly prominent in terms of creating a little bit more contrast. So probably some blues or deep blues or something like that in there, and right in here it'll be like a lighter blue. So anyways, there's your second composition right there. I mean, it's a totally different look for that cozy cabin left here, daytime cabin, you know. Here we have it in whatever, the mountains up at, you know, 7,000 feet. And here it is again right here at sea level, right? So different settings, whatever, could be different states, I don't know, countries. And yeah, this one right here, this one might be kind of interesting. Oh, this one, you know, I've been doing those things with the moons, to do it with the larger moons, but you can do like a glow-in-the-dark thing like this, you know, with a moon rising up like that. Or we could do, like, this is a you know, elongated slim line format. We could do a light beam coming across like this whole sky area like that. That might be kind of interesting. Or you can do like a half moon kind of rising on the surface like that, if we do want to add in that glow-in-the-dark element to it. Kind of fun. This one has a pretty decent amount of sky area. It's almost like half the scene, right, from here up. And this one right here, it's almost like no sky, you know what I mean? There's like a little peekaboo area right up here. Right here, I thought about going with a little bit of that extra mountain texture right here, but this area is going to get darkened anyway, so, you know, I don't really need to do it. It's going to be dark and in these corners anyway, so no extra texturing needed. Okay, let's get on to the next one here. Let's see. Did I say hello to Debbie? If I didn't, hello, Debbie. Let's see. It was cloudy and rainy last weekend. Oh my gosh. So you could have had like the best view potentially of all of us if you could see. You know what, Kevin? I always forget to put things in the foreground. Oh, you don't have to put things in the foreground. It just kind of pushes depth a little bit more. I do it for depth and framing and contrast a lot of times, but I don't know, you know, isn't necessarily needed. You can do it or not. You have so many different, you know, things at your disposal too. You know, things like you can do cut out things like on a Cricut or whatever, you know, and have like, you know, different toned trees or something like that over the scene. You color the scene first and then put those other things on the foreground. Yeah, that would be really cool. You know, you're really good with 3D, you know, dimension, you know, foreground, your cutouts and things like that, or three-dimensional me. Oh, so I'm talking about this, like, I'm still thinking in terms of the paper things, but you have all that railroad train, you know, types of things. If you put things in a little bit of a shadow box, you can put those trees, like actual like modelers trees and stuff in your pieces. I think that'd look awesome. All right, let's go with one more kind of wintry type of setting. Let's put this cabin away. Let's go with a different one. Let's go with a little bit of smaller format. Those two were like half-page types of composition sizes. Okay, this is a piece of the semi-gloss cardstock, okay? Which I've kind of been working with a little bit more than glossy cardstock over the last, I don't know, maybe year and a half. Maybe it's been 2 years. I still love glossy, of course, but I used glossy like almost exclusively for the first, I don't know, whatever, 25 years of stamping. But I've really come to like the ability to use things like colored pencils. So maybe just because it's new, not because, oh my God, colored pencils are like way better. It's just that, I hadn't done it for a while. Let's do something a little bit different here. Let's go with, here, I'll do this a couple different ways here. Okay, so I'm just setting the foundation right here. Kind of a little snowy foundation, like so. But let's do it again in kind of a little bit of a diagonal. Not too many people do this. Jeannie does it all the time. But she stamps sometimes at different angles, kind of giving, a little bit more of a, whatever, visual movement into pieces. Yeah, sometimes it's kind of fun, you know what I mean? I do it sometimes. I have like elements that are kind of sloped. I usually don't slope the entire piece, okay? So let's do that. Here I'll go, let's see, let's go. Which cabin am I going to use on this one, by the way? Let me take a look here. Let's go with the night cabin left. Okay, so I'm going to slope left a little bit. Okay. Like this. All right. So this is a little bit raised. I don't know. I probably should have sloped it more just for emphasis, but it comes to show you I don't do that very often, so it's not used to it. Not that you have to be, but all right. Cabins right here. So these cabins right here, by the way, if you ever get these, kind of try to line up with the, one of the things is with the balcony right there. So see this side, if I line this up like this, just straight across the bottom, then the cabin is sloped like that. See how it's kind of angled down a little bit? So you just kind of raise that up a little bit. You don't have to get it perfect, but just slightly higher, okay? Because I have these cabins kind of going from near to far on, just about all of them. This one a little bit less so, but you can see this right here where this is like up here and this is a little bit down. All right, let's see. Let's go like that. So I can see that there's this little balcony line, or just any of these horizontals right here. You just line it up right down here. Okay. You don't need to get it perfect either. All right. Okay, so the foundation right here, and then this is kind of a foundation stamp too. It's going to be a snowy cabin scene, so that's your compositional foundation by which to build on. I'm going to mask off this slope right here a little bit, just, the contours of it like that. And then I'll stamp this right in here like so. I'm going to go a little bit lower there like so. I just forgot to slope it. We're talking about angles, and I just evened it out, so I totally forgot to kind of like skew it a little bit. Okay, anyway. These videos are not rehearsed, as you can see. They're barely planned. But most of these videos, like these lives, I mean, sometimes I might have an idea. I'll be thinking about during the day and stuff, but a lot of them it's just like, like 5 minutes before, I'll just kind of think of something to do. And it's usually something that I've maybe thought about in the past, but just kind of recalled or something. Or I'll just see a piece of foil or some sort of specific paper. Like, okay, that's what I'm doing, But I have been seeing a lot of the cabin compositions on Facebook in the different groups, mostly the Stampscapes group, and the Netherlands de Stempelwinkel too. but most people in there, you know, post in the Stampscapes group too. But anyways, there's all kinds of different super cool compositions with the stamps that I've really loved looking at. Just like, I got to get to some of these other combinations here. All right, so let's see. Let's go right here. What are you stamping? Oh, sorry, Netta. That was probably, it was Tiny Rocks Small. Did anyone know what I was doing there? Yeah, Tiny Rocks Small, probably. If you're talking about these little rocks right here, I use them like all the time. I use them in probably, I don't know, 60%, 70, I don't know, maybe higher. But I'd say conservatively speaking, 60% of all my scenes. Even in like snowy area and grassy areas, I just found that that rock, little pebble texture really, I don't know, it varies the textures. It gives me something crisp and something soft, so like rocks in grass, or it's just a textural unifier, so you use those textures around in different areas. You know, here it is at the base of here, it's here, here, and here. So all these areas like that with that little pebble, you know, Tiny Rock Small, they share a common texture now. So you're giving these different objects and distances something in common. That helps to kind of harmonize and unify the piece overall. Now, coloring and all that is going to do that too, okay? But it just gives kind of a nice head start for, you know, that unification process to take place. Okay, now on these right here, like I said, this is like snow in here if you color it a certain way, but there's no reason why you can't color this in like green right here, and you can put wildflowers in there, and it's, you know, suddenly a spring type of setting, okay? All right, but let's see here. Okay, here. Let me go with the same cabin again here. Let's say it's a cabin down the road, and you know, there's like a dirt road going to it. Okay, I have this dirt road stamp right here. I wanted to use that one, kind of to make a strong visual lead in into the scene right here. Let me see, this is going to go this way. So, okay, I need to stamp this a little bit, or let's do it. Let's do it horizontal. I can fit more of this in here like this. This road was just sitting on my desk. I thought, oh, maybe that'll look kind of cool as a road leading to one of the cabins here. Hello, Rhonda. Let's see, where did Linda go? I don't know. Oh, there she is. She's eating. What are you eating, Linda? We're hungry. Pass some of that around, please. All right, so let's see right here. Let's go to this. Now, chances are this cabin right here, you know what I mean? It's, you know, the road, you know what I mean, going up to it's probably in the back of it, and this is, you know, something like this. But hey, you know, I mean, who cares? That's like a technical little thing. Okay, so here's the cabin right here. Where's the cabin? Let's see. I'm going to put it right over here like that, I think. You know, it's not like, I don't need this road like going up to like the front door. It's not supposed to be like that, you know. But let's see what we can do here. So again, foundational stamp right there, you know, stamp that out. And it's a road leading to a cabin. All these other areas in there will be filler stamps. Okay, let's go like this. I'll go a little bit higher up. There's probably like a little dirt, you know, area right in here for people to park or whatever. Or I don't know, maybe this is like a smaller kind of like, more like a trail, or I don't know. Well, then there's tire marks, and I guess it's a road, dirt road. That, okay. So, I mean, just like that, it looks really weird, of course. So, you got your foundation stamps right here. It's a road leading up to this cabin, so we need our filler stamps. Let's see. Okay. Sedge filler, you know, moving from our, you know, snowy texture to getting into this kind of more grassy texture. I'll do something over here too, but let's fill in some of this first. Actually, I don't know if I'll fill in over there. I might just have it like a tree or something in the foreground. All right. And I was thinking about this one right here. Tree cluster. Let's do that right there. I'm going to try, I'm closing in the gap right here a little bit, you know. I don't need to, although that would look kind of, I'd use the smaller one if I was going a little bit higher, I think. I think I'm going to go like right there. And then we'll put it down here too, like this. It's like a little opening between trees to draw the viewer's eye into the scene. Okay. So you can add, here, I'll show you what I'm getting at here. This doesn't look like it's taken the ink for some reason. You ever do that? You know, you ink up a stamp, it's like, is that inked up? Like, it doesn't look like it's inked up. It's like beading on the surface, you know. It doesn't look so black, it looks really like pinkish red. Okay, let's see here. Let's go about like, let's go right about right here. Okay, that inked up a lot. That was a really dark impression. And for some reason it doesn't, it looks like my pad's like super dry because it's so pink right there. It's like beading on the surface or something. Again, we're going a little bit higher right here, and then I'll go lower like this. Okay, like that. Let's do this thing too. You know, we're talking about using the partials. Okay, you want a kind of a jagged mask right here because you're masking off grass, and grass isn't like flat like concrete or something like that. Okay. So let's go with this, just like a torn side of the paper towel. And just use some of the tops of these trees like this. So you get a little bit repetition of shape pattern, even though it's not the full tree, it's just partial like that. Okay, so you get a little bit of that repetition of form going back there. I should have done a little bit more, but we'll just, so be it. I messed out a little bit too much. I wanted about that much of it. Okay, but so be it. But anyways, you get that little tree like that. So it's just kind of leading you in there a little bit more. It's almost like, I don't know, I hadn't really thought about this term though, but I call it visual lead-ins like this. It's when you frame off the edges like this. And of course a road is going to draw someone in there. But even if you didn't have that road, if you flank this area right here, and let's just say it's a meadow in here, but you leave a little bit of an opening, you funnel the viewer's eye into the scene so they feel compelled to go in there, you know, from a visual standpoint. And that makes for a really strong composition like that. It's like we're going, you know, right to that. You've directed your viewer's eye exactly, you know, where, you know, something is probably going to go. You can put something on here like a subject, you know, people hiking or walking on there, or I don't know if there's a car out there design, you know, something like this. Figure like this, you know, they're kind of going sideways, but, you know, kind of pulling you back in there a little bit more. You could put things out in the meadow. This would be like really perfect right here. The guy with the old man and the dog or something like this in here. Or you can just kind of leave it open. You know what I mean? If we put this in here, it's really going to change the spirit of the piece. This is the old man and dog right here. He's on a horse, okay? And going back in there like that. Okay, now up here again, we can put all kinds of different things. I think this would be a perfect spot when you have like a little peekaboo area of your sky. If we created some tones in here, and then I did some of those white pigment ink sunbeams like coming in here like this, like that. I think that'd be really cool, and we can put some wildflowers down here. The thought went through my mind. I wonder if I should write this down, you know, on the back of here. I don't know, I won't do that. All right. Let's see. Let's do a moonrise over the whatever, over the cabin. Okay, now this one here, I'm not going to do it in black, because this one's going to be like a navy bluish, you know, tone area up above, I think. So let's just go with, now this will look a little bit strange, just stamping this out in blue, okay, but when you fill it in with color, that's when all of that will kind of make, I don't know, whatever color scheme sense. Let's go with something like a Memento Bahama blue here. Maybe I'll put some clouds around it too. I don't know. Here. I wasn't going to do this, but I really wanted to use one of my moons in here. I really love kind of moonlit nights over the snow, you know, and having that moonlight kind of illuminating snow, you know. I always like using a bunch of mist anyway. I'm going to just blot, whatever. Remove some of the ink off some of this texturing in here, just so that it maybe gives me a little bit more variation than a uniform value of blue. Okay, let's see, let's take a little bit off right here where it's going to be overlapping. You can mask those trees off if we want to. The way that I color and go back in with a white pen, though, some of this blue is going into those trees, like the edge, you know, of the moon. It's not going to be any big deal to me, because I just remove it with the white paint pen and white pigment ink and all that with the coloring. And so that'll make, see, that blue right in there, that's not really any big deal. Unless you're not going to color it in and, you know, you're just going with this. So, okay, so again, right around in here, I'll have some other blue tones. I'll try to make this look like it's glowing, and then we'll have a lot of light kind of streaming in right in here, like that. All right, so here's, let's see, a couple pieces like this, you know, foundation right here. I don't know, the filler stamp is right over here. This is kind of more of a, I don't know if you'd call that moon filler. It's just such a strong focal point. It is the focal point too, right? But I don't know, it did fill in the sky, so I guess it's both. I'm thinking about the clouds over here, but I kind of like that. I think I just want to go with some tone up here. I'll transition some tone from darker blues into lighter blues around here, and then we'll give it a real misty kind of perimeter. Oh, that would be a perfect spot for like a really tiny little figure, you know, coming over the horizon. It could be a person or an animal, like a deer right there. It'd be kind of interesting. You can put them down here too, where it's like really shining on them. But a silhouette against that would be pretty interesting. Okay, so we have this one right here. Let's see, let's put some, yeah, what do we want to put up here? What do I want to do? I was talking about my cloud. I didn't take that cloud out. Oh! Okay, let me see here. Maybe I'll put a quote stamp up there. Okay, so So Froggy Fresh was talking about, hey, sometimes they forgot to do foreground. Well, you don't have to do foreground, or they just don't do foreground, but sometimes your foreground can be really, really minimal too. It can just be, something that's slightly, usually if you're working scale, like see I have these little scrubby types of, winter little branches in there, where, the rest of the, the leaves or something like that. It's a perennial, but it's just a bunch of twigs basically during the winter time. So if you want to, you can put in something like some larger versions of that. I mean, you want to almost be able to tell that it's not part of the that design. But see, those right here. Just kind of putting in that little bit like that, it just kind of closed that off a little bit. So again, you're kind of funneled in. And in this case, anytime like streams or paths or something like that, roads, it funnels you into that area a little bit more. So, you know what I mean? It's like this wider area, and then it goes to this opening like that. Okay. I'm going to leave this open right here, but I wanted to do one of these cabins right here. Let's do it. Let's use the same cabin. Okay, here's a piece of glossy again, but let's do this. I like the look of this right here, but let's do this right here. Let's flank it with foreground, like really solid framing kind of types of imagery. I'll just go with this one. This make it really fast here, because this stamp here covers a lot of ground. Let's do it like that, but then let's slope it down. We're talking about angles. So Snowy Bank, I think it was. Or this isn't Snowy Bank. The other one was Snowy Bank, right? There's Snowy Creek, Snowy Bank, and Snowy something. All right, so let's see. I could stamp these trees first and then work the cabin around it. Let's put the cabin in first. Okay, so I'll bring this a little bit more into the center, because I'm going to have these larger trunks out here to each side. Okay. So it really doesn't matter which one you do first. I don't know. Maybe it's better to do the cabin. I don't know. These things are. I made them where there's a lot of texture in there and variation. Okay. But for the most part, they're silhouettes, so you can almost use them like a silhouette. Sometimes you get the imagery showing through a little bit, but it's not really any big deal, because if you color the scenes anyways, then you just darken the trees anyway. But let's see here. I don't know if I need to mask this off or not. Probably don't need to, but we'll just mask off a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling up here. I'm looking at food here, food comments. I'm getting hungry here. Okay, that was the one you were talking about then, huh, Netta? Let's see. Oh yeah, slope. That's I do need someone. I need someone like on like live. Um, what do you call it? Speakerphone. Okay, let me see here. Let's go with. Let's go with these trees. Do I have it completely on the outside edge, or do I have it in a little bit? I can do both. maybe I'll have this one here. Let's start off with this one because it is such a kind of a prominent, solid stamp here. I'll start off, I'll start off with the larger trunk first. So kind of going in that spirit of kind of larger to smaller. I mean, like I said, this is just like one way to do it. If you know what you're going to be doing and you have like a more firm kind of idea, you don't have to follow like any of these like steps. It's just kind of like a general thing. If someone's kind of starting out, or, you don't do scenic stamping for, a little while, and, you want to come up with the, original composition, you can kind of refer back to some different kind of methodology, start off with. In my classes, I always had people stamp out kind of the main image, okay? Not combinations of images like I'm kind of doing here. But they would just stamp out like the cabin, and then I would have them pick out like some kind of sky figure, a moon, cloud, whatever, lightning bolts, whatever. Aurora Borealis, speaking of that. And then they would stamp that in a color above it. And then they would just use whatever color they stamped out their sky figure in to color their scene with. And it's just a real kind of basic kind of approach, for someone that's starting out. And then they kind of got into filler. I'm talking about people that have never done like any scenic stamping before generally, okay? And it was just kind of an easy way for them to kind of ease into the idea of compositional builds from scratch, okay? The classes weren't, okay, pick up stamp A and then stamp it in black, like 3/4 of the way up a card or something like that. It was more free form. Back in the day, when I had a bunch of stamps that I'd take around to different stores. All right, so there's that. It's already looking pretty strong in terms of a composition. And let's see, we can go with the same one. I can just kind of mask off right here like that and have it below. But let's go with a little bit of a variation right here. Since these trunks are a little bit smaller, they could represent some trunks a little bit farther back, okay? So here's the thing, I can plant them right here if I want to, okay? But let's put them right behind this little slope right here, okay? Just, for kicks and just to make things a little bit different. So you can use the contours of, the elements, okay, if they're in there. Like that. See that little slope right there? Oops, I should have used more pressure right in there. See that area right in there? What I was talking about in my first impression. If you miss some impressions, this tree is going to get colored in with a bunch of tone anyway, so I don't need to worry. You don't need to worry about that if something like that happens. Let me see. Can I get that right in here? Like this one tree. Let's try. When I pose those questions sometimes in these live streams, sometimes I tend to feel like, okay, I said it out loud. I have to do it now, because I'm live. Where I don't know if I would have otherwise, but I don't know. I don't know because we're live here. But I don't know. Sometimes I might not have done it. Which is a problem because every time I'm looking at these pieces, it's like all these ideas come like streaming to mind. Okay, let me use a little bit more pressure here. I might have something on this stamp though. Like I might have used like a StazOn and I didn't clean it off. So it's kind of resisting some of the ink that was just applied. I think I just didn't stand up for this one, maybe. These are pretty solid images right here. Yeah, I think I have something on this. I can see where it's kind of resisting right there. I didn't clean my stamp up. It's like right there. You can see where it's a little bit juicier right there. Anyway, I'll fill that in when I color it in. Okay, so we have our framework here for that piece like that. Now, see, we have all these other types of trees right in here, but they're not kind of in the background right there. I should probably get a little bit of those forms going on back there, so it's just not this kind of isolated grouping of whatever, you know, more mid-ground pines like that. So there's different things I can do. I can take these trees again, but here's the thing that, you know, it's kind of a hassle with these kind of more vertical framing types of devices like this. When you have these areas that are in between here, like I can easily mask this off and put like a bunch of trees right there, but we have these little areas in between like that. So I think what I'm going to do for that is that I'll do some lighter impressions of it. Let's see, here's my pine row. Okay, we're just going to get some general types of impressions going in the background there. I don't need to have them be like really distinct, because if I do that anyway, I'm going to lose the silhouette of these trees. I want these to be nice and prominent here in the foreground. They'll probably be dark browns and blacks or something like that. Okay, so let's just get some background filler stamp or textures and shapes in there. You could even just ink this up with gray too and stamp it right over there, and not even have to think about this, but this is what I'll do here. I'll just kind of go for one impression like that. And I'm getting a lot of the ink off. And let's transition this a little bit on the base. Okay, because I want these to be kind of light. And let's get some going. Maybe I'll mask off a little bit here, this main tree. Like about like so. Okay. And then let's just go right in here like that. And there's your background kind of filler impression. That's one of them. I'll probably do this like 3 times here, and I think that'll fill in those areas in the background like that. Okay, see that right there? It's already looking like kind of like a foggier, kind of misty day, isn't it? Okay, inked up, blotted out, wiped off in the base like that. Easy techniques right here. All right. And let's get some of these trees. I'll go a little bit higher right up here, like that. And then we have this little area in here, kind of this peekaboo area right in here. So blot off, transition. I'm kind of wiping off some of that too. And then let's go. I probably don't even need to mask off, but let's go right up here like that. I missed right in there. Or maybe I wiped off too much of that ink. Like that. And let's see here. Or maybe I masked off too much of that trunk right there. Here, I'll have like a huge amount showing like that, okay? Now, let me try to get this tree right in there. Okay, there we go. All right, so again, we have all this area up here, and that's still open for whatever we want to do. It could be day or night. I think this one right here, it might look, oh, okay, I was thinking I might go with a really misty kind of airy thing, which I could for the background, but I need to make these trees kind of dark just to fill in like that, so yeah. Okay, let's go with some of that foreground that we talked about. Let's go with some of the winter brush like this, maybe. So this is a really small stamp, right? Or fairly small, okay? And we're going like this. But even with really small stamps like that, you can still use partials. Okay, so here's like a, like a 70% usage, 80% right in here, okay? But then you see these trees right here? One of the things that's really fun is to give that kind of texturing right at the base of trees. Okay, that's one of my little tips here. Often I do it with the, maybe the reed small, not this large one. Or I put the reed large right up here and the reed small in the background, but you put this right here, and then you just go for something right at the base, like this. And it creates a little bit more of a graceful transition of these vertical forms in there to give it that little bit of clustering down below so that the edge right here isn't quite so harsh. You know, you don't have all these like harsh angles in here. And see how that looks right there? You just go like this right here again. And you can put this again right at the base like this. Okay. But you see how that transitions like that a little bit more gracefully like that? Little thing I did right here is I went a little bit taller. Okay. Like that. And then right there, I used a little bit smaller, so it's going from kind of tall to small. See that little twig right there? So everything's kind of funneling in like this. You know, we have these frames like this with these branches right here, twigs or foreground, leading in like that. A repetition of form. Just the tops of these ones right here. It creates like pattern or something like that. And then it's going from like taller to smaller that. So everything's kind of leading back up into there like so. Okay. Might be kind of interesting to have like a moon up here with that owl flying across it or something like that. All right, so there's an example of some framing, some like stronger framing, you know, around this cabin, like so. Okay. So, boy, we did 4 compositions using that one right there. Could be night or day, you know. We do have the open areas of the windows for my night cabins. You can color them whatever. This one would be kind of interesting to go kind of monochromatic or something like that and go really dark with it, but only have like yellow in the windows like that. So this one really spot color for like warmth coming out of there. Be kind of interesting. All right, let's see, what other images was I thinking about? We got the road in there. We got the mountain, we got the snow. I think I covered my big things. Let's see. Does anyone have any requests? Let me see. Let me do something with it. I don't know if I've used this hammock person yet. Maybe in that initial stamp sketching video using these stamps. I don't remember. But I could do like someone on a slope overlooking like a moonlit night or something like that. Let's see. Linda loves chocolate. She's eating pizza on Friday. Crack slaw leftovers. I feel like eating a pizza. I used to work at a pizza place. I could work at Domino's Pizza and then this other private pizza place one summer. But I started making like all of our pizzas like a few years ago again. I make the dough in our bread maker. Hello, Jeannie. Once you color these up, Kevin, do you share somewhere? Yeah, we share them on the Instagram. I post to Instagram, and then that automatically posts to Facebook. So Facebook, it's under my name, or you can check it out on the Stampscapes page. But I especially post them in the Facebook 2 Stampscapes, Facebook Stampscapes 2 group on there, okay? But Instagram for sure. And I used to post on Flickr, but I ran out of my quota of 1,000 uploads like years ago on that one. Pinterest too, you know. But I'm going to finish all these up. When I finish these cards up, I finish them up in videos here, so anytime I'm doing something, I always just hit record. You know what I mean? So we have record of doing it. So I just killed two birds with one stone. I'm finishing off the card and I'm posting the video for anyone that might want to do something with it, you know, or recreate it or whatever, you know. Let's see. Let's do something. Let's do something on the... I don't know. Now I'm having fun working on this white paper. I don't work on the white sometimes for a while. I don't have any pieces of my... I need to cut more of my semi-gloss half pages, I think. Let me see something here. Let's do... Let me grab some other paper here. I think this might be kind of interesting, potentially. Let's go with something real slimline. I'm going to just have some fun here with something. I don't work like elongated like this too often. I should. Now, I don't know what this is right here. This isn't, I don't think this is a half page. I think this is narrower. I'm going to cut off the top though, because I know that's 11 right there. But let's do something like this. Just as a little extra composition here. This one's kind of going, I don't know. I mean, it's not different, but this is going to be this little figure on a dock looking across to, stream. I mean, I've done this before, but it's just an example of, you know what I mean? You don't have to go with certain types of, sequential, types of, whatever laws. And then there's other types of things that you do too, if we're working really small too, there's other methodology. Maybe there's only room for, a couple things on there, but maybe it's only the foundation stamp or something like that. But you can still fit a lot of things into really small compositions, or in this case, a really narrow one. All right, so here's our little figure like this. And I really want to do something on this sometime, but I think it's my last piece of Miri Lava blue matte cardstock. Isn't it cool? It's matte, so it's like a real satiny looking piece. But I thought about doing something that's in the Northern Lighty type of spirit, at least. I don't know, that doesn't look like, Northern Lights, but just in that spirit of kind of amorphic kind of shapes changing around. All right, let me see here. Okay, see that right there? It's a bunch of dried what is it? Brilliance ink. Let me see if I can get that off right here. I didn't clean it off the last time. Been using so many of the Brilliance inks on these funky types of surfaces. Let's see. Is there a way to condition rubber stamp where it starts to get hard? There is. Did anyone answer that for them? Okay, yeah, Linda did. Yeah, I use. I've never had any of mine get hard, but I haven't been using things like StazOn on my stamps for a very long time. So I haven't been using StazOn on my stamps for years, but I can imagine something like that could make them get hard. But I use a little bit of simple green, diluted simple green. I don't know if that's really conditioning them, but I don't know. There's something in it, I think. That's really good. I don't know. It doesn't hurt the rubber, I think. We used to be cleaning stamps with like Windex back in the 80s when I worked at a Stamp in Hand, just because I don't know, that's what she was using on it. So, and then I think they started using like diluted, but I would never go with one of those kind of ammonia-based cleaners on stamps. Okay, now, so I noticed someone else mentioned the clay and some. Who mentioned that? But those ones aren't good to use on stamps. With that clay filler like that. Glycerin and cotton ball. Hello, Yvonne. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Haven't gone dry in 25 years. Yeah, the red rubber. I have red rubber from ages and ages ago. I'm pretty sure it was a All Night Media 1970. I don't know, 4 or 6 or something like that. Stamp set. I have a video of it on here on the YouTube channel. It was called, I think it was called My First Stamp Set. And that rubber on there, it's interesting. It's just the rubber, and it's not perfectly cut out. It's just like a rectangle, but it's this little figure. And it's the rubber has been just adhered directly to like this cheap wood. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But anyways, I tested out that rubber, and the stamp pad that came with it was like business, ink, I'm sure. So industrial ink back then. There weren't dyes or something like that. And even, as a kid using those stamps like that with that ink, that rubber was like perfect still. I don't know if it was like still the same condition, but it was still supple and not dry and took the ink and made impressions just fine. I think I'm going to do this one where it's not necessarily like a scene, with like deep space in here. I mean, it could be, but I have these. I wanted to do this thing where it's more like a layout or something like that for like a magazine spread where there's like different word stamps like throughout the piece. Okay. I don't know if I stamp it right directly on here or if I make like little tags, you know what I mean? Or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, so anyways, we're talking about sequencing again. And like I said, it doesn't have to be, traditional sequencing. I'm not going to be like merging two of this together perfectly, but let's use this one. I need to get somewhere that different type of pine. I found out what types of pines those were. I was referencing some photographs of these pines, and some of them were turning like red. Does anyone know that was what types of those pine trees that turn kind of reddish and then like golden color? I just saw it somewhere. It was like, oh, okay, that's what those things were. They were not deciduous trees. I don't know. There's no such thing as a deciduous pine tree, right? I don't know. I don't know, but they were changing. But anyways, I found out what they were, but I forgot. But I'll get some more of those trees, like within these just evergreens right here. Okay, I'm wiping off the bottom of this a little bit. So I'm doing this kind of serpentine thing, like through here, okay? And then we'll go around like this. I'll put another one of these like right up here. Okay, I don't want to go too high because like I said, I got to cut off that top part. Just so that I can mat this off when done. Okay, now see, I used about this portion of it right here. I'm going to use a smaller portion of it right over here, just so it doesn't look so redundant like this and this, you know what I mean? I'll just use like that much of it. Like right over there, something like that. Okay, let's see. Did I do another little bit of it like that? Huh. Let's go one more here. Let me see if I can do something too. Let me see if I'll wipe off a lot of this right here. I'll get rid of some of these kind of foreground rocks right here. It doesn't have to be completely gone because again, I'm going to fill in with some color. So maybe I should have just not inked it up to begin with. And then I won't have to wipe it off, right? But I don't know. I wasn't thinking about that when I was inking it up. Okay, let's go right over here. I'll go a little bit lower, like that. Okay, so see that it's kind of coming in here about the same distance, but I just didn't do the rock straight down here, so it's like a smaller bit of it out there in the distance. So the way that this is gonna get colored in probably is right around here. There's going to be some shading, and then it's going to go like a little bit darker in here in the shadows, and then it's going to what do you call it? a gradient pattern or something like that, where it's a little bit richer and darker down this way. I'm going to still have lighting down here, and then it's going to go lighter as it moves off into the distance like that. Let's do... Did I leave room for that full moon in there? I get that. Should I do the smaller one like this? Let's do this right here. Let's do the smaller one. I'm going to put the moon in there too. Or you can do something where this is like a... Nah, you can't do it. I don't know if you can do a horizon card with like so long like this. That might be kind of weird. Weird is good though sometimes, right? All right. Let's do this. I'm going to do this in that blue again. I'm going to put it right here. And what I'll do is I'll try to create a little bit of a relationship with this figure and try to put it right like above her like that. See that kind of connection right there? So you put the moon up there, and then I have that one scenic sentiment set where it has like peace and dream and, you know, those types of words on there. I think that would be really good for this piece right here. Okay, so let's see. I'm not going to get a ruler or anything like that. I'm just going to visually kind of make, you know, get it as close as I can like that. Okay, so go like that. And, all right, I was talking about the different types of patterns we've shown, like the snow pattern, sedge filler, the tiny rocks. Let's use those tiny rocks again. I don't know, is Netta still here? He's coming in with those tiny rocks again. And I'll show you how to use some of the water pattern stamp on here too. And I'll show you how I go for some kind of inherent value changes using the texture of the water. Okay. All right, so let's get some of this going down first. We have a lot of space in here with this super elongated piece like this. So this will be like the first step in kind of blending, I don't know, these different distances together. Okay, so that. It's kind of as it moves away from that shoreline, and then I'll put this, you know, in really clear water. You can see, you know, the bottom of the whatever it is, lake or, you know, shore right in there like that. Okay, this is going pretty distant in here, so maybe what I'll do is I'll ink it up and I'll blot it off a little bit so I get kind of a lighter, slightly lighter impression. Now, I'm not going to finish this piece off. This is just kind of like preliminary kind of blending right here. All right, so see we have those little textural forms right in there. Let me go a little bit more in this foreground area. Oh, I think what'll look good in the foreground here too. I'll do the water pattern first though, but all right. Let me grab another slightly darker blue here. Of course, it's like at the base of my tower of pads, one of the tower of pads. Okay, so lighter blue and darker blue. Okay, I usually start off with I could start off with an even lighter one, like the Memento Summer Sky, or, you know, Marvy, it's the Salvia blue. But let's just do this. Let's just start off with a kind of a medium tone blue, and then we'll use just different lighter versions of it with the drier versions of it. Let's see here. As far as all my red rubber stamps, yeah, I have some red rubber, and I won't name the company, but I got those at, I used to go, to different stores, and I would typically buy stamps myself. And yeah, I just, because I used to work for a Stamp of the Hand as well, so I know that occasionally they would buy some of that other type of rubber that would have some filler. Oh, there's my circle. Stencil, my moon stencils on it. I could tell they had filler in that clay filler, and those ones really didn't last very long. It depends too. When they were doing the vulcanizing, sometimes it would get really kind of brittle, and there was more chance of it getting like these air bubbles in it too, I think, especially if it was kind of an older batch. It doesn't have to be a real old batch. I'm not talking like years, but if it was sitting in a warehouse with like a, it's during the summertime, and these gigantic warehouses aren't, air conditioned, holding these raw materials. So those ones were a real problem. And some of them I just couldn't get very good impressions. I still have them, because I really love the designs and I like those companies. But yeah, in terms of longevity, okay, they didn't really do themselves any favors by using that rubber or that filler rubber. Okay, so this is, see, you can use this. You can certainly use it as a stamp, like to make a definitive impression from. But I'm using it more from a textural standpoint, it's almost like I'm using a textured, you can think of it like sponging technique or something like that, but it's just with really definitive texture on there like this, okay? So this is giving me that shading effect. And see, I'm making it denser, like right around that shoreline, and then it gets lighter as it moves out like this. Okay, now you don't have to be perfect with this too. It doesn't have to be, now sometimes I'm going with like just an edge like this, okay? I'm just tamping like the top, I don't know, whatever, 1/16 of an inch like that. See, like right in here, it got a little harsh like that. So I'm going to work that out a little bit more. And I'm just I have this like at an angle like this, okay? Now, I didn't do this all the time. I used to go a little bit more definitively like that, but I started using a little bit of a lighter touch in recent years, and I thought, that looks pretty good. And to go with a lot more repetition than I used to do, okay? So, I mean, you can do it in many ways. I mean, you can even stamp this in black, okay? It tends to, the more contrast you have in that water pattern, it tends to look a little bit more stormy looking. You know what I mean? Because there's harder textures in there. There's more drama to it, okay? On this one, though, I'm going for more like serenity. If I'm going for like a winter, I mean, not a winter, but like a Halloween card where, I got the monster, the Black Lagoon coming out of this, body of water, then I'm doing this in black, and that's in black, just to create a little bit more drama. Now remember, this isn't like my coloring thing. This is like a preliminary thing to coloring, okay? But this is kind of like, it's really given me a big head start in terms of kind of lighting and shadow work in this area. And plus it'll give me a little bit of texturing, when I do my, my color additions in here. It's a really great way to just kind of, it really expedites things. We have a lot of area in here to fill in, right? Potentially. And this is just a way to do it with you're doing it with imagery. I mean, it is like, rubber stamp here, but it's a really great way. Okay, now I find myself using most of this at an angle like this right here. I'm hardly ever using the flat side. I guess I can use the flat side right here with this big area right here. And see, I like these kind of striations coming across here, but can you see that, like the kind of lighting scheme already developing? And we haven't even had to really do any coloring yet, so you can even do this in the sky if you want to. I don't know if I would do it with such repetition, but you could. But you know, like those alto cumulus skies, the the mackerel sky, it looks pretty good. And I've seen people use the cloud alto cumulus stamp for their water pattern. So they used it up in the sky and down in water, or just in water. So like oftentimes, like a lot of sky textures look like water textures or patterns. Okay, so see like that, and we'll work some of it from the base like this. Okay, I'm getting better at this as I go. The more, by the time I get, I started right here. By the time I'm like up there and kind of coming down like this, I find myself getting a little bit better of a kind of a transition here. It's a little bit, kind of muscle memory here. You get kind of a better feel of it, as you go along. This is not like the type of kind of motion that we're probably doing in daily life, so unless you're like a jewelry maker or something like that. All right, so anyways, can you see that right there? We got a little bit of that kind of that moonlight on the water type of thing going on here like that. This is using the, fairly light toned Bahama blue. That made pretty fast work of that. Okay. And then you go with the darker one, and then you can just add in to these darker areas. You don't go in quite as far with the darker tone just because it's darker to begin with. I bought a used one that was rock hard because I liked the design and thought it could be pressed into clay. Oh, huh. I don't know. Yeah. So would I don't know, would that glycerin help, anyone? And did people mention the technique of using that glycerin? Do you leave it in there to soak or something like that? The worse off it is. Yeah, I can't wait to color these in, Cynthia. You press a dried stamp into the silicone, let it dry, and then use the silicone mold. Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, am I talking about you, Megan? If any of it resonates. A lot of times when I'm doing all this stuff too, I'm telling myself too, I'm addressing me, just as a kind of a reminder a lot of times with the various techniques. Because, a lot of times I'm using these different techniques, and sometimes, I don't forget completely with most things, but if I just try something once and I don't do it again for a while, sometimes, when I'm kind of pondering the sequencing especially, it's like, how did I do that, So I just try it out again, and I don't know. I guess I could go back and watch the video. But it would put me to sleep. Me watching me. As I mentioned last night in the midnight live. Okay, so if I didn't say, this is the Danube blue right here. It's looking fairly dark down here, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have kind of darker shadows. Well, that looks okay, but it's because this area around the moon is going to get filled in with tone, and it's going to look dark, so... Anyway, so this is just kind of an example. I don't know, it's kind of a little bit of it's a different type of compositional build like this. This kind of like I don't know, kind of like separate entities that aren't really touching at all in here, including the whatever, the visual focal point, the, you know, the figure sitting on the dock, pier, whatever. Okay, let me see if I can move this along a little bit faster. I don't know, now that I'm doing this, I don't know if it's faster, but it's kind of cooler, you know, to have some of that additional texturing down there. Now you can color this one with, you know, colored pencils or dye bastings, or I don't know, you can probably do chalks or something like that even on this piece. We have to color our imagery and bring in some tones like that, but you see these textural forms like that? Now it's a little bit harsh and like really busy looking, but when you bring in those other tones underneath there, I'm going to come in with light blues and then these same blues again, so you won't have that contrast between white and, you know, these textural tones in there. So it'll really smooth that out, okay? But again, this, from a textural standpoint and from a lighting standpoint, we got to have a pretty good head start on, you know, that color addition in there. Okay, so I was looking down here and I thought we'd push things a little bit more with some additional trees like this. So this will be like, we're looking down at that figure, which we already kind of seem like we're doing, but maybe this is like a slope up here and there was like a path down to this dock or something like that. So let's add this in. And then that'll be a nice kind of a foundation for a, you know, coloring and special things, you know, effects or something like this. You can color this in here. We've been playing around with glow-in-the-darks. We can add glow-in-the-darks up there and something like that, or you can add some glitter on the water in here. It would look silly right now, I think, on this light of a tone, but if you have darker tones in here, you know, for some of that holographic glitter, I think it'd be pretty cool. Or I don't know, just, I don't know, can any type of shimmering type of surface, you know, might be kind of interesting. All right, let's go like this over here. So again, with that foreground, right? I mean, it doesn't have to have it in there, but let's take a look at it. It's kind of taking it one step further, okay? So we have like smaller trees. They're a little bit large. I mean, these are the same size trees, but it kind of represents something a little bit farther off in the distance because we didn't stamp those rocks down here. So it's like farther, closer, you know, mid-ground. Closer is this little figure down here, but now we have something a lot closer, and it's the same shape as those other forms in the back. Oh yeah, I was thinking about using some of those trees in here. Let me see. Okay. Let me see, did I color enough of that? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just using kind of this portion right here. So again, partials, right? Let's see. You like these compositions as is, huh, Cynthia? We're done with these then. Oh yeah, what was that about the waterfalls, Bonnie? So someone stamped, I think, these cabins with some waterfalls too. That was another thing I didn't get around to. I didn't do the waterfalls. It'd be awesome to stamp, you know, something like this with a waterfall like right in here or something like that. So it's like looking off, you know, you don't want the waterfall coming out right from that, but it can be like right alongside a waterfall, or the waterfalls could be in the back feeding the creek running, you know, alongside the that. But see that right there? I don't know. Do you think that added to the piece having those trees like that? I think it looks pretty good in terms of creating a little bit of extra framing on there. Okay, so let me see. If I can find that stamp real fast, I'll grab it, but there's this one with a little bit of deciduous trees on it. It's the smaller version of tree cluster. I'm looking through my stack of oh, here we go. Whenever I'm looking for something, it's like it's always at the bottom of the stack, you know. Okay, so here's this little tree cluster right here. I don't know if I could use this one. I don't know if this is too small. My the what is the name of it? Like a maple pear small or something like that might be better right here. This might be too big right here. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to do this right here. I need the smaller version of these things, okay? But I'd have to go hunting through my rubber. I'll add that in when I finish this piece off. These are a little bit too big. I can put like a smaller version of that, but it's going to it'll interfere with the silhouette of the trees right in there. So we're going to leave it just as is, I think. Or I can use like, I don't know, pine tree duo or something like that, the smaller one, and just stamp it in a color that I'm going to color these trees in. So if these trees are like yellow or something like that, I can stamp out some of these additional trees in yellow. Okay, I'll figure it out when I get to it. All right, so let's take a look and see some of these different compositions here. I didn't get around to stamping it on the like the wood grain or something like that, but oh, just different variations here. I guess we did get into color, which I said I wasn't going to do. But this is kind of... Okay, so you can do this all... This is like... You can do this all in grayscale, too, if you're going to do like a monochromatic piece, or if you want to do monochromatic and then color tint, okay? And that looks really cool, too, when you do that. When you just do all of your toning in grayscale. And then you just take and color it in right over the top of a grayscale, whatever, composition exercise. Okay. This one right here I'm going to leave open. That's like perfect for like a quote stamp or something like that in there. Could be a quote on whatever. This one right here, I was thinking on this one right here with these little spindly things, you can do, what's kind of fun is to do this in taking this winter scene and put it like green. But then on these little branches right here, you take and you put the first signs of like green leaves on it or something like that. Or if it's like a springtime type of thing, you know, you have the like blossoms on these bare branches. And then, you know, the green comes in later on. So that may be kind of fun. Another piece right here with the road. I like the road as a lead-in right here with these trees flanking it. That makes for a really strong visual entry point, I think. And then we have our whatever, ocean, Great Lakes, whatever, you know, something that's going to have a lighthouse. And then we have our very large winter type of scene with, oh, my head's in the way on that one. And we have this little gap opening right here where there, you know, you can follow this creek up here and it probably goes off in this distance right here. See these trees right here? We can put in some additional ones. Like sometimes it's good to put like, some additional trees like alongside this creek right here. I put like smaller ones. I can put a little bit of a larger one here. Then you put a little bit of a smaller one and then smaller off in the distance like that. So it goes large, medium, small like that. I'll figure that one out too when I get to this piece when I start coloring it. But I'll probably start coloring in these pieces sometime this week. I'll do some follow-up videos, maybe lives or something like that with that. But anyways, some little stamp sketches here, which are fun to do. Watching the sunrise or sunset from the hammock. I forgot about the hammock. I was going to do that. It'd be fun to put the hammock like right in here, like this, overlooking all that. I need to do some things too, Horsey Girl. I want to, you know how I do those photo stamping scenes? I want to do some photo stamping over some sunsets. Sometimes it's hard to get a sunset photo online where people haven't included like the entire landscape. You know, or they get it where someone's just only doing the sky. I guess we can crop and, you know, just print out that one area like that. But I want to do some photo stamping with that girl in that hammock. I mean, she's got that drink in her hand too, so it's like perfect for a sunset situation too. Yeah, the tropics like that. Someone did that too. Someone did the. Didn't someone put that girl in a hammock on in the tropics? I think one of the Netherlands stampers, if that's where they're located, I don't know. She post things in the De Stempel Winkle group. But it was like, oh, okay. I was curious to see what that would look like, and someone did it. So when you use several animals, what's a good balance? It just depends, Caroline. A lot of times I do like one or two. Okay. Oftentimes what I like to do is like if there's like a buck and a doe or something like that, I do the buck in the distance, like they're looking at each other to create kind of like visual dynamics or something like that. But you could do something. I was thinking about that. It's kind of interesting that you asked that because I was thinking about kind of a scene that's really full of animals, and it's kind of like more of like a statement on. Oh, it's like those. I don't know. Did anyone buy those postage stamps years ago where it was like a full ecosystem, and they did it for everything, like forest. I think there was ocean. There might have been coral reef and everything like that, where there was animals all over it. You know what I mean? So you can do it where it's not like so much of a like a snapshot of like a real life moment or scene or something like that, but it's just more of it's a statement on that ecosystem. So you can butterflies, you have the fox right there, you have the badger, the bear, and you know what I mean? You can put all kinds of different things like that. Like we did those scenes last year. We call them the monster maps, where everything's just loaded with imagery, and those really were fun. And it broke me out of a lot of kind of notions of focal point usage. Now, the less focal points you have, like that little guy in there, that's going to have a lot more impact if you have like one creature or animal in an entire scene like that, because all the attention is focused on there. Whereas if you have other small ones, unless they're kind of really obscured and someone's supposed to look for them, it just, the viewer's attention gets split up, and maybe they travel around from piece to, animal to animal. But if it was something like this, if you're talking about, what's a good balance, it just depends on maybe the scene, the size of it. I mean, if it is, are we talking about if it's the same type of animal, where you can herd things, it's unlimited as far as the numbers that you can use. But if it's different types and it's like one of each, then I don't know, you just have to kind of play around with things like scale. And yeah, it just depends on what else you have going on there. If it's like one open terrain, like a big meadow, and there's not like a focal point cabin or structure in there, and it's just kind of wide open, Okavango, Africa, you know what I mean? You can have like, thousands of animals in there. We wouldn't do that in scenic stamping, but you could. I don't know. But so one of the things is too, is, when you're stamping things out, it used to be with these wood mounted stamps, you can just kind of look at it. You can stamp one thing out and then you have it indexed like that. I would kind of just stamp them out on separate pieces of paper and then just kind of move them around. Or some people stamp permanently on little mylar or whatever, clear acetate or something like that, and with permanent ink, so that they can just put something around. They can just arrange things, and you can see how it would look, stamped out on there, and if you'd want to do it or not. That is one of my favorite stamps. What is that? Is that, Yvonne, is that the hammock right there? Or which stamp is one of your favorites? My son just sent me a picture of this gorgeous sunset in Jamaica this evening. Do a photo stamping, Yvonne, of that. We have a tamarack trees turn yellow in the fall and lose needles. Maybe that's one of those. It grows back green in the spring. They grow mainly in the lowland marsh area. That's interesting. Okay, simple green. Okay, did you mention, yeah, that simple green? Yeah, I love simple green as far as a cleanser. We usually use it a little bit diluted. For some reason, I like the smell of simple green for some reason. I don't know what it smell like. I don't know if it smells like. It smells like, I don't know. It doesn't smell like licorice, but it reminds me of licorice, like black licorice. I don't know. Some people hate that, but I like the smell of that. Let's see. Froggy Fresh's comment there. Let's see. Just keep it easy. So a lot of people say I make something look like it's easy, which I don't like to hear, a lot of times or they may say, okay, yeah, it's easier than it looks, which means that I'm like a failure in terms of like an instructional person or motivator, okay? But that being said, I get it though. It's because when people see a scene like this and they haven't done scenic stamping, you can't tell where one stamp ends and the other one begins because they're not definitive outlines. So I definitely know where people are coming from. But if you stick to the methodology, at least in terms of composition like this, to start off with, here's like, this is like a couple stamps on here, and it's really easy to do it. But they just, after they did like one scene, they totally get like the dissection of imagery, and here's these trees used over here. And they kind of get into the spirit of, I saw it all the time when I taught my classes, but I'd start them easy though. I would just say, pick out one main image, a waterfall, whatever, a lake, and then one sky figure. And, usually in the first card, it didn't matter what they stamped out, but I had them do the same color scheme. So it was like a cooler color scheme. One main image, and then one sky figure. Stamp out your main image in black, stamp out your sky figure in blue. Now let's start coloring it in. And it's like, they didn't think about, okay, wait, where's this tree going to go? Where's this little figure going to go? Are we going to use some trees? Nah, it's not like that. You can just start off with like 2 elements or 2 stamp designs. And then you can think about those other things later. Okay, would this look good with a foreground tree? Okay, so they don't have to think about things. This is too much to think about in terms of a compositional build all in advance. I didn't think about that, and I didn't think about certain things about how I would get from one place to another ahead of time, okay? I just stamped the component. Now, I had a pretty good idea, on this one right here because I've done it before, but I didn't do the lighthouse, so I had to tweak it like that. So I'm not thinking so far in advance. Now, you have to have an idea of, some components, If I do this water, do I have the, and if I want water texture, certainly, but you can really keep things really minimal to start off with. And then you start to remember and log, kind of other stamps you have around, it's like, okay, you organize things too. You can organize things by main image and then your animals and people and things like that in another area for your focal points. And then you can have like foreground imagery. But like I said, some things can totally be foreground and background though, you know what I mean? But keep things real simple though, I don't complicate things so, but I've reduced some certain things down though, or refine things, you know what I mean, over time. And that's the way that I'm teaching it too here, things that'll potentially save you time. But I forget it too sometimes, so it's like I might do something and it's like, oh, I'll do a live stream video or something. And oftentimes I'll do, if I really like that card, I'll do a quick version of it. So it's like, okay, there were certain things that I did on there that I probably don't need to do, or that were kind of more detail oriented that I might like, but if it takes an extra 10 minutes to do and, most people won't notice it, I just remove it and we do a quick version card of it. So that's a really good way to learn these types of things too. And you'll get the sequencing down if you just kind of follow along with one of the lessons. And the quick scenes or stamp alongs are a really good way to do that. And it doesn't mean you have to do them forever. If you do a couple of them, then you'll probably get whatever that technique was down, was created in that down, pretty well. So it's like, hello, Alicia. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, Cynthia already said it. Yeah, the stamp belongs right there. Happy Little Trees. The one with the little guy sledding. I like it too. I think someone did this one. Maybe not this exact composition, but she used the brook there, the snowy brook right there. And I think she used the little sledder too. I don't know if it was the same cabin. It might have been. Yeah, but I love those. She posted on the Facebook group like 2 winter scenes. They kind of had this aged feel to them too. I don't know what kind of a paper she used, but there was a little bit of an antique look to one of them, I think. But it was like, oh, okay, great. She did the winter, types of settings like that. So, like I said, these are like, lakeside cabins, but they don't have to be that at all. They can be terrain in different terrains and different meadows or creekside or whatever. Someone mentioned waterfalls. I think these it would make a really great pairing with these cabins. Cabins can go anywhere, anywhere you want to. Maybe with those types of trees like that, I wouldn't do it in the tropics, probably. A place I would love to live at. Yeah, I was mentioning that, Netta. I was saying, yeah, wouldn't it be cool to have a cabin? Some people have a cabin in the woods. So someone sent me when I did the pre-sale of these cabins. She says, okay, I got to get the set right here. And she sent me a photo of her house, and it was in this kind of wooded type of setting. It was like really similar looking to, in spirit, not in terms of the exact architecture or something like that, to these cabins like that, but a lot of the trees behind her place. And it was kind of on a slope too, I think, so they probably have a really great view. But yeah, I was saying that would be really awesome. So, it's like one of the things about scenic stamping. You can stamp places kind of referencing places that we've been or whatever, or that we live at, but you can also stamp the types of places where you would like to be at, which is probably a little more common, or a lot more common, or completely, related to like all of the scenes that I do. And one of the things is that, every type of kind of like creative type of endeavor, we get, all of you that are, crafters and stampers can relate to this, but you lose time, when you're creating like a card, and it's like it's when you're having fun, unless we're like struggling with some type of new technique or something like that. But one of the things about scenic stamping, I think that's a little bit of an added type of whatever subconscious thing is. I think you go into those locations a little bit on like a subconscious level when you're doing it. So it's like these little micro vacations, in the time that you're creating the piece to, completion, then you're kind of looking at it, So it's like, they're actual like settings, or times of year, whatever. And that's what's one of those really things that I enjoy doing, or well, I don't know, whatever, probably experiencing. I'm not thinking about these things when I'm doing it, but I think after I'm done with it, it's like, I don't know, you're kind of relaxed as if you went there in a small way, or something like that. So, and then you can totally stamp out, scenes related to whatever mood you feel like depicting. So, nature's that way. All these things could be like totally different in whatever way. The moons, I don't know. The moon's not going to be a sunset scene, but you can do whatever colors you want. You can do your favorite colors, times of day, year, whatever. You can do the same scene, several different times, the exact same composition, but color it in a different way. Or you can do it on, if I stamp this out on, the vintage paper like that, I think it could look like maybe you can stamp it out in like a dark, warm toning instead of black. Or you can use the black ink on here too, but it would look like some kind of like old postcard maybe. And I think that would be cool. And now I'm thinking about that, the person that did this too, I think she added in those really cool types of editions on her snow, I think it was. I don't know if it was like white paint or something like that too. And that looked really cool. And if people are on Facebook, you know, join the group and you can see all these different different ways people use these stamps. There's been some pan pastels up there. Linda B, you know, here, who's right here. I don't know, Linda, how many? I don't know. You did like 5 or 6 like full page scenes using the cabins. The 4 cabins were all used. The 4 different cabins were in, I don't know, multiple compositions too, right? I don't know. They're really cool. So you can see all kinds of different things in them. But I'll finish these off. I don't know if I'm going to get around to all of them, but I don't know. A lot of the work is done on a lot of these, so we'll add in some little additional focal points in them, or animals, things like that. I hope I answered your idea with the animals. There's no set kind of answer to it in terms of like a balance or something like that, though. Like I said, it just depends on the scene and how much emphasis too is going to be put on an animal. If I stamped an animal, like if this area right down here was a little bit darker or something like that, and I stamped an animal in there, and it's kind of like a dark tone against like a medium tone, then there's like a lot less emphasis on that animal in there too, you know. And so I don't know, a lot of times it comes down to like space and lighting too, you know. So, and I don't know, just whatever statement you want to make with that. I wish there was like a real definitive thing like that, but yeah, there isn't. If I'm doing 11, sometimes I'm done on 11 by 17 scene, and I think just to make it things like, they call it dramatic imbalance, I think. We did this exercise in like a beginning drawing class one time, where you do like a big, huge thing on one side of the composition. We were doing like still lifes. And then over here, it's like one little thing. So it creates this like tension, you know, because of like a big, huge still life. And there was like one little, I don't know, whatever, a marble or something like this over here, or something like that. So you can do those, you can play around with things like that too. You can have like one animal, like an 11 by 17 scene that's kind of spotlit, you know, with this big mountain ranger and stuff over here. I tried that out one time. I think I called it dramatic imbalance or something like that, that lesson, if I'm not mistaken, but it wasn't 11 by 17 piece. I think I did it grayscale too, so I wouldn't have to do so much coloring. All right, fishes, yeah. Thanks for joining in, everyone. What do we? Color fun time ahead when finishing these pieces off later on. Quick note. Last couple days on the pre-sale of those new sets, I think my rubber guy got those in, so I'm gonna, you know, I don't know, he didn't contact me, so I need to make sure that the plates are all, he usually checks over the plates like with a magnifying glass just to make sure there's no like extra little dot on the plate which he grinds off. But a couple extra days on that pre-sale special on those new ones coming out. Can't wait to use the like the flower fields and all that type of thing. But yeah, so that being said, I want to get a lot of these colored as quick as possible. I even have this stamp sketch from before that I need to kind of finish off just with some additional shading right here. But this is just a little stamp sketch on the wood grain paper like that. So anyway, thanks again. Hope you have a great rest of evening. And let's see, we'll see you tonight when, you know, Stampscapes, the midnight session. I'm just joking. Thanks, everyone. I enjoyed it too, Bonnie. Thanks so much. Good night, everyone. I got to go get that pizza now that, you know, Linda was talking about pizza or something like that.